Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Come on, won't you say it loud? Ayo, we gon' turn this out. Tom Clark's Main Event.
Hey, what's up, kids? Welcome back to the program. We had a hesitation there. I don't know what happened. There was a bit of a hesitation there. I'll have to look into that. Maybe it was something on my side. They call me the Pale Rider because that's what I am. Look at that. Oh my God. It's like I just refract. I don't reflect. I refract. I don't know. It seems like the right word. Well, let me tell you something, man. I'm so white. I'm basically transparent. It is what it is. Happy Friday, kids. I continue to be amazed at the lighting. I don't know. If I ever got it fixed, I don't know what I'd do with myself. I had nothing to complain about, I don't suppose. I'd find something. Welcome back to the show, folks. Hope you're doing great. Hope you've had a great week. My name's Tom. This here is the Main Event. Been going strong since 2014. Isn't that something? Year 11, season 12 of the show here. We're glad you are along for the ride. We appreciate you very much hanging out, giving us your time. I know everybody wants to start their weekend, but we got some AEW to review, so we hope you're up for it. Do me a favor, kids, while you're here, smash the like button for me. I'd greatly appreciate it. And also share the show on your feed, on the Facebook, on the Blue Sky, on the, I was going to say Instagram. Instagram's always a problem, isn't it? Over there on the Twitter, because I won't call it the other thing, if you can stomach it. We're setting up a new podcast, and I'm setting up the socials right now. And because of the certain people who run that freaking platform, you know who I'm talking about. When you set up a new account, automatically all the conservative accounts follow you. All the hateful, spiteful, just the worst. So I'm like blocking by the hundreds at this point, and we hadn't even tweeted our first post yet. So like we're only there for the sake of being there. We're not there because we think anything great's going to happen. That place has been a dumpster fire for 2 years and counting. It is what it is. Again, we appreciate you very much hanging out. Again, kids, smash the like button for me if you would. I very much appreciate it. By the way, if you don't like my political views, you are welcome to disagree, but you ain't changing my mind. Okay, that's just how it is. We are all inclusive here on the Main Event. No matter what your persuasion is, what your faith is, what your lack of faith is, how you identify, brother, you're welcome in my audience today and always. Okay, always welcome. So I appreciate you very much. Thanks as always for hanging out. Let's bring on our guest today. We had two guests, and one of them blew us off for a girl, mind you. And you know who you are, Jay Luft, blowing me off for a chick. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. I won't say anything else because I might get him in trouble. Big Tasty knows what I'm talking about. He revealed it in chat this morning. Kids, please welcome the Untitled Wrestling Podcast, Ben Jackson, a.k.a. Big Tasty. What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, Tom. How's it going? My girlfriend knows that she can't replace you in my life. So,
see, I very much appreciate that. See there, Jay, you should take notes, brother. I'm just saying.
She hasn't thrown anything at me, so this has gone very well.
Yeah, she's within earshot, you know.
She sat right there. She can hear me. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. See? Yeah, it's all good. I was telling some other day, I said, man, if I didn't have podcasts, I don't know what I'd do. Like, I just enjoy it so much, and having met some great guys and great folks over the past several years, it's insane. I can't imagine removing that stuff, man. You know what I mean? Like, just imagine cutting all that out. What would you do with yourself?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, our podcast started literally during lockdown, like when we couldn't meet up to talk about wrestling. So we just did it online, and we just thought, we'll just throw it up there and see if anyone likes it. And here we are, like 5 years later.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's just and again, it's a nice way for, like, obviously me and you would never have met or talked if it wasn't for podcasting. And yeah it's great. It just brings people together, man. That's what it's all about. The world's a big place, and let's make it a little bit smaller, a little bit more. I was just
going to say, it makes the world a little bit smaller. Well done. Let's say some hellos before we get started here, kids. Sugar Shane's in the house. E's here as well. JP says, I'd blow you off for a girl too. Well, you know what? At least you're honest about it. That's all. So there you go. Here's something I've never asked you, and I've always meant to. How did you get the nickname?
Right. Oh, this is a really weird. Story. So, when I was living before me and my girlfriend moved in together, I was living just weirdly across the street from where I live now in Liverpool city centre, and I was living with a nice young man from New York. He's a friend to this day. He's moved back to Liverpool. He's a lovely fellow, Mark O'Connor. He won't be listening to this. He hates wrestling. And we were just like, I think we were out drinking one night, and he just said, "Oh, we should have like rap names for a joke, like rapper names." And so he was like, "You got to pick a name to be your rap name." And I'm not the smallest man in the world. And I was walking through town one time, and like McDonald's had the Big Tasty hamburger. I don't know if they have it in the States as a hamburger. McDonald's do a burger called the Big Tasty.
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
So it's like a big it's like a single burger, big, but it's like a big burger, and it's like that's the whole gimmick. And I saw it on the poster, and I was like, Big Tasty, that kind of fits. So
I like that.
I just kind of adopted it as a joke, and then it sort of stuck. I think Jay had a big part in popularizing it, and it's become, there's people who like exclusively call me that now, which is bizarre because it's not a name that anyone who looks like me should ever be called.
No, I get it. My wrestling name was Bishop, and for the longest time I never heard my first name. Because it depends on what company you work for. Things change. That they change based on the company, the promoter, and how the guys want to be with each other. But I never heard my first name in locker rooms, and a lot of times I didn't know the wrestlers' names at all. I just knew them by their working names. It's just, yeah, that's pretty cool. I've never asked you that, so I'm glad I did. Interesting. I always said if I was a rapper, my rap name would be Ice Crispy. I don't know why.
Oh, fair. And if you were interested in my friend, he chose the name Young Baby.
Young Baby. There's probably a rapper now named Young Baby.
Man, he's having a kid. Like 3 months time. Him and his partner, they're having a daughter. So yeah, that's a whole thing we got to deal with.
Well, but they can't call their kid Little Baby because that's already a rapper. That baby thing is huge in the rap community.
I don't know where that came from. Like
me neither.
No.
I don't get it. Little Baby, Duh Baby. Remember that time?
It feels like there was like a moment in rap that I missed when like Young or Baby and everything that became like the whole thing, and like
or Little LIL Lil.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? Remember when ODB started calling himself Big Baby Jesus and everybody had to call him that? Big Baby Jesus. Oh, that's wonderful. By the way, Wu-Tang's going back out on the road for the last tour.
I'm so upset that it's so far away from me.
Yeah, dude, I would love to go see them. I've never seen them in any combination at all. Well, kids, today we are going to review the AEW Dynasty show. Now, if you saw it and you liked it, you're going to like this. If you saw it and hated it, well, you might like this anyway. We're going to have varying opinions, and we're always blunt here on the show. And we'll get your guys' comments as we go as well. Find out what everybody here thought about the show. Before we get kicked off, we started talking. It was my fault. I got it started before we even recorded here today. But like, what did in terms of how we'll get into the company here later. In terms of how the show was overall, what's your thoughts as we get into it?
See, I think it's a much better show than a lot of people are going to give it credit for because of how things turned out. It's one of those, isn't it, where like the same thing happened. I can't remember what the exact show was. The show with the exploding ring match.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's like,
I remember what show it was.
And it's unfortunate because there was some. I don't think there were as many top matches on the show, but I think that the level was consistently very high. Which is sort of like, that's AEW's sort of like low bar now, is just consistent 4-star matches for the entire card, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think it's mad that we've become so conditioned by the recently historical excellence that even when a show just has a load of 4-star matches on, we think it's like a bit mid and a bit sort of like average. Whereas
have they painted themselves into a corner with that, by the way?
I think there's almost a sort of danger, isn't there, that when you do have such, like we said before we came on, when you do have such a stacked roster, like an excellent roster, that you put a lot of pressure on yourself to deliver these consistently incredible matches, and you've basically built on successive shows of spectacle on spectacle on spectacle. That, like, there's a saying, isn't there, like over delivery creates expectation.
I like that. It's right. It's true.
It happens. You think about in your anytime you've worked for someone and you've hung around to do more work, and then next time you're just expected to do it, or anytime you've gone above and beyond it, and the next time you don't, maybe you've let someone down a little bit. And I think that's happened a little bit with AEW. They've put on so many absolutely phenomenal matches. They've created this sort of like expectation amongst the fan base, which is fair enough. They trade on that, and Tony Khan sits there when the plaudits come in and he takes the credit, so he has to take the criticism as well.
Yeah.
And I think that they've created this sort of level of almost hype amongst their fan base that you're going to see, insanity every time. And you just can't do that. You can't expect these performers to constantly push the boundaries of basically safety every show.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've never wrestled, but like, it's just like any job. There's some nights where you just go out there and you've just got to get through it. Like, it's not clicking, or, you're not feeling it, or you don't want to jump off a cage, or, you've just got to do the match and make sure no one gets hurt and get to the back and call it a 7 out of 10 night. And I think AEW are in a position where they almost can't do that.
They're a different breed over there, Ospreay and those guys, because they keep pushing the envelope. And even Will Ospreay at this point will tell you that, like, I'm getting older. I can't continue doing a lot of this stuff. That's going to catch up to these guys eventually, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let's go to a few of the comments here before we get cranking. JP says, I still think AEW has too many matches on the pay-per-view and just scale it down a couple of matches like the Owen Hart matches could have been saved for AEW Dynamite. I can't disagree with that overall. I think for this show, you're right. But I think, Tacey, I think that changes based on show to show. You know what I mean? The number of bouts you have on the card.
Yeah. I mean, does All In or Double or Nothing need to be a stacked card? I think so. Does Dynasty need to be a stacked card? Maybe not. I can understand, again, Tony Khan, he always says he wants to give people value for money. He wants to give people, as many matches as possible to sort of let them, the paying fans, get their money's worth. As someone who, I don't know how global your audience is on a typical basis, but as someone who watches this in the UK, where it starts at 1 a.m.
Right.
So I didn't actually watch the main event because I went to bed at 4:30 in the morning. And the main event was about to start. And I had to be up for work at 9 a.m. So
yeah, when you start doing that, that's some vicious math you got going on there. By the way, shout out to Jay. Jay popped up in the chat. He says, I'd say I'm sorry I'm not there, but y'all know why I miss it. We already told everybody, Jay. Jay, you should know we told everybody that you blew us off for a girl. Okay?
Yeah, Jay, stop chatting to us and pay attention to your date, mate.
Right.
Unless she's also watching, in which case, hello. I hope it's going well.
Yes. Hi. Jay's a great guy. And if you want to message us privately, we'll tell you the real truth. No, I'm just kidding. Josh is here. What's going on, Josh? All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get to I'm gonna be honest with you. The two pre-show, and it looks like there was only 2 pre-show matches. The other day when we previewed this, didn't we wonder out loud which one of these matches would be on the pre-show? And like none of them were, except for none of them were they?
No, so we didn't preview either of these matches last week. I think these. So yeah, it's odd that there was so little wrestling on the pre-show, because normally they like to pack this out with like 3 matches and like out of the hour they have like 30-40 minutes of wrestling. I mean, I think both these matches on the pre-show worked pretty well for different reasons.
I did not catch them. To be fully transparent, it was Nick Wayne and Crew. I keep wanting to call it CRU. I don't know why. It's how it's written. Nick Wayne and Crew defeated AR Fox and Top Flight, and then Anthony Bowens defeated Max Caster. I mean, in any other world, how does that not make the main show with those 2 guys? You know what I mean? Like,
it's weird because they've sort of been building up to the Anthony Bowens return for a while, haven't they? Obviously, Caster's been doing these open challenges, and it's all been going wrong for him. And then Bowens gets the big return. He's got like Jane's Addiction for his music.
Nice.
He's got new gear. He's got everything. He looks like he's just been locked in the gym for the last 8 weeks, just absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
He looks huge. He came out and he murdered Max Caster. But yeah, I mean, and Billy Gunn was still there, which I'm kind of a bit mixed about. Maybe he doesn't possibly need Billy Gunn anymore, and we can. But hey, that's a story. That's a conversation for another day. But yeah, I mean, I'm always in two minds about the pre-show in AEW, because on the one hand, it's not the main card and it doesn't have the prestige of the main card, but on the other hand, it's probably seen by more people.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Because it's free and it's on YouTube and anyone can watch it. Because that's where they put the Costco guys, and I think that works really well because it gets massive viewership on loads of eyes on the product. Because they say what you will about Big Justice and his dad and all that. They go out there and they promote the absolute hell out of what they're doing all the time.
Fair. Yeah.
And they get people to watch, and they get people who wouldn't normally watch wrestling to watch. I mean, I don't think they're as big in the UK as they might be over in the States, culturally. But yeah, they get people watching. So if Bowens can get like if he got that big like sort of viewership for his return, then that's pretty cool. And also, I don't know where you'd put that match, especially if it's a 40-second match. I don't know where you're going to put that match on this card in terms of.
That's oh my God, it was a 40-second match. I don't know what the shortest match is in AEW history, but that's got to be in the top 5, I would say.
I think probably the entire top 5 have been this open challenge with Max Caster, because the whole gimmick has been that he's a bit too sort of sure of himself, and he comes out and he gets his ass kicked, and it lasts about 20-30 seconds. And then he brushes it off, and like it's almost like a fake news thing. He's like acting like he's still doing great, like he's still the best, and he's sort of like, Teflon, and it all slides off him. But it's interesting to see because he didn't have a match on Dynamite this week, presumably because he was still emotionally scarred from what happened at the pay-per-view. So I don't know if that's going to spin off into a sort of, I don't know if this is the end of the Acclaim breakup or if this is the start of like a new chapter of it. I'm not sure where they're going to go with it.
What's Bowens calling himself now? 4 something? What is it?
A 5-tool player.
5-tool player. Yeah.
Which I had to explain to so it's like an American sporting term, isn't it? Like someone who can do like, I think it's a baseball term specifically. I
think so. I'm not a baseball guy, so you might be right.
It's like someone who can hit, field, run, throw, all that. They can do everything. They can play on both sides of the ball. They're not just like a.
That's
I know Bowens is a big baseball guy. He's always like in the batting cages, like swinging at pitches and all sorts. So
I like Bowens a lot, man. He's got a tremendous upside. I just wonder what it's going to be in that company. I don't know.
You're always scared when something like this happens and someone goes out on their own. It's like, are they just going to get lost in the shuffle here? Like, because it's so sink or swim, and especially that singles division, that men's singles division is an absolute shark tank in terms of the talent that's in there.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like Bowens is great, and like on paper he can absolutely hold his own. But would he just get? He's got like one shot to establish himself. That's it. Like that's the thing I feel about AEW when you're a singles guy, you get one shot to get a hook, to get something over. And if it doesn't hit, then all of a sudden, well, you're not Darby, and you're not Swerve, and you're not Cope, and you're not, Eddie Kingston's going to come back at some point, and all these guys can pop a stadium full of people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't get to that level before your time's up, then you're back to the mid-card.
And we often talk about through the years that the best locker room of all time was arguably WWE's Attitude Era locker room, when you had the top of the talent in the world in that locker room. Like, maybe the Attitude Era going out of it, you know what I mean? Just in that little time frame when you had, Taker and Rock and Austin and, Foley and Kurt Angle was just coming, sort of at that weird crossroads of the best talents and where Flair was there and still working and, all these guys. But I got to tell you, man, the locker room that AEW has right now, in my opinion, I mean, I don't know if I don't want to sit here and compare and contrast, but man, it's got to be up there, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like you say, it's just, you've got we didn't even mention Kenny Omega, who's now in a mid-card title picture. You've got Speedball Mike Bailey, who's just come in, who's like, you've got Ricochet doing the work of his career. Yeah. You've got, like
Okada,
yeah. Okada's just there, hanging out, having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of, and let's see, by the way, Josh said he had a question. Josh, hit me, whatever you got. And let's see what else. JP says the baseball reference also refers to how many different pitches a pitcher has.
Right, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
David in Australia, David down under, good morning to you, sir. Fernando says Anthony Bona is going to be the first Gabriel champion. He doesn't need the Max Caster anymore. I don't think he needs Max either. But First world, the gay part I'm totally fine with, but world champion in that company, that's going to be tough.
I mean,
really
I'd say he's got a win. His window's going to be pretty big. He's young. It's not like he's not like an Eddie Kingston when we're talking like it probably might not happen for him now. He's probably past the point. But it's just like you say. If you've got your next sort of 5 world champions planned out in your head, is it going to be like, is Bowens going to be in that next 5?
Good question. Good question. Well, kids, let's kick this card off. We had Will Ospreay defeating Kevin Knight by pinfall, men's Owen Hart Cup tournament quarterfinal match. We said last week on the preview show that this was going to put Kevin on the map in a big bad way, that Will is unselfish. He's going to give him a whole lot of stuff. And buddy, we called it all. This was a very fun match. What'd you think about this?
Yeah, it was. I mean, like you say, Ospreay's just he's at this level now, isn't he, where he just elevates whoever's in the ring with him. I mean, not that Kevin Knight needs elevating. Kevin Knight's a fantastic talent, and he gave as good as he got. But yeah, it was like you say, Tom. It was a great opener. It was a traditional, like we talked. I think we talked about just before we came on. It was a traditional sort of high octane opener match. Set the crowd, set the tempo, get everyone excited. I think Ospreay's the perfect guy to have in that. If he's not main event and if he's not like a big title match, he's the perfect guy to have in that opening spot. Everyone loves him. His entrance pops the crowd. He's high energy. He comes out with like an absolute. He comes out like a wrecking ball. He's explosive. He runs everywhere. He's smiling. He's happy. He's happy to be here, and he just doesn't let up the entire match, does he? And it wasn't a long match, like 13 and a half minutes, which was perfect. Yep. It didn't feel like it didn't drag at any point. There was a few spots where they maybe sort of lost control a little bit just because they were going so relentlessly, but I think that maybe added to like how frenetic the match was.
Yeah, and he really showed up, man. He had an opportunity against, you could argue who's the best in that company. I'm sure plenty of people would say Ospreay. So, Knight had a chance to come in and show off, and he really did. And Will gave him some great spots. And Kevin really, really did his thing, man. What I like the most about this is that you talk about the window is open. I have a sense of trepidation for any guys coming in because, like, there's so many guys right now in my head that could conceivably hold their world title right now. And a vast number of those guys are nowhere near the world title right now. So, like, Kevin, in a few years, are we talking about it? Maybe. Are we talking about Kevin and Adam Cole for the TNT title at some point? Are we talking about Kevin and whoever for a title? Maybe. I mean, it's probably too early to be talking about any of that. But I am interested, man, in what they're going to do with him down the road, honestly.
Yeah, and as you said, Tom, like all the people that you talk about who are in title contention, they're not old as well; they're young. So, right, Kevin's window is big, it's long, but everyone else's is like Swerve's is, and Speedball's is, and Will Ospreay's is, and Ricochet's is. And, all these guys aren't retiring in 2-3 years time.
Not at all. Fernando says AEW needs to do a hard brand split after they move to Thursday nights. I am anti-brand split, period. However, if this company decided to do something, God, that locker room is bloated in a good way. But it's bloated. What do you think about a brand split for AEW?
So I wouldn't want a hard brand split as much. I just think I would like it if they gave the shows a bit more of an identity. So if I think they sort of started doing this a bit last year when like Collision started having like lots of sort of lucha style matches. And it had a bit more of an identity of like being a bit more sort of cruiserweighty, which was really cool. And then like the heavyweights were more sort of featured on Dynamite, and I think that's maybe a better way to do it instead of saying, "Oh no, these guys only wrestle on this show," because then you're removing some of the unpredictability, you're removing some of the sort of the surprise factor. But if you say, "Oh no, well, if you come to a Collision show, you're going to see more high flying, flippy boys doing all the cool stuff. Whereas if you come to Dynamite, maybe you're going to see a bit more tag team wrestling. Maybe you're going to see a bit more, of this, that, and the other." I think that might be a way to sort of differentiate, because at the moment, it's like you say, you can't really win, can you? If you split the brands, then all of a sudden you're effectively halving the drawing power of your roster, because people know, oh, I'm not going to see Mox if I don't go to Collision, so I won't go to Collision. But if you don't, then everything sort of just homogenizes together a bit, and there's a feeling that, well, why should I stay in on a Saturday to watch Collision when I can just watch Dynamite midweek and not have to curtail my weekend plans?
Excellent point. Great point, man. That you're essentially handicapping yourself because you're flat out telling your audience who you're going to see when they could just be surprised. I just like the idea in pro wrestling that anything could happen at any time on any show. And I think when you split brands, to your point, that really deletes a lot of that, honestly.
Because like the fun for me, the coolest, funnest thing about wrestling, and this comes from growing up watching the Attitude Era, is you always had these, like, it was like having these like big sea monsters floating around in the ocean. You had like The Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold, and they'd all stay, unless they were in a program together, they'd all sort of stay in their own like little territories in the storyline or in the card. But every now and then they just pass by each other, and there'd be a little bit of electricity, and like, oh, those two guys haven't. And it does happen a bit in AEW now, when like, especially with Kenny, when Kenny interacts with someone in a storyline, it's like, oh, him and Kenny haven't wrestled yet. That's really intriguing, And it's like, but if you say to me, well, Kenny Omega's just going to be on Dynamite, if my favorite wrestler is on Collision, then I know that they're not going to interact in any way. So
yeah, and then plus, once you set something to effect, you're either going to enforce it or you're not going to. And the moment it, like in WWE, the moment they're not enforcing the bland split, you can make a whole joke with that.
Bit of a Freudian slip there.
Yes, absolutely. The moment they're not enforcing the brand split is the moment that everybody, including us, goes, "What'd you even do it for? Like, why go to all that trouble with a draft when in 2 weeks the dude's back on the other show? What are we doing?" I don't know.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about not enforcing rules and it making a mockery of things when we talk about a match a little bit later.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's coming. Let's talk about the Hurt Syndicate retaining the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Learning Tree, Big Bill and Brian Keith. Again, I feel like all of our predictions, whether we predicted the correct winners or not, the way the matches went, I think came out pretty well. I think we called this one by saying that I don't think that the Learning Tree is going to get killed. I think that the Syndicate will give them some stuff, which they did. I don't know if I felt like the Syndicate was in any kind of trouble at any given point, but the right guys won. And now we see the fallout this past Wednesday with this Jericho thing. Don't know if he's gone, if he's taking a break. Please.
The rumor I've heard just from like social media is that Fozzy are going on tour. It's their 25th anniversary.
Holy Lord, has it been that long?
So yeah, feel old yet?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think he's going out on the road with Fozzy for a bit. So he's currently taking an indeterminate amount of time off, which is interesting because he didn't get like beaten up, or he just left because the other guys weren't good enough, which is a very Jericho way to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, Tom, this match, I think it did exactly what it needed to do. Like you said, it was more a case of the Hurt Syndicate just couldn't quite put them away, as opposed to there was a danger of them losing. It was more a case of a frustration, I think, rather than a sort of. And then MJF gets involved, obviously, so that sort of propels that storyline along a little bit and protects Big Bill a bit, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's interesting to me. We always talk by we. I mean, I always talk about the booking of this company here on the show about, this one and done. It occurs to me they book a lot like professional boxing. Like, professional boxers fight a guy, they're done, they move on. And that's how they're booking in this company. I mean, occasionally you'll get a return match. The main event guys may get, but even then, Mox has gone through a string of guys and they've got one shot and they moved on. Maybe two, but then that's it. And so, like, it feels like very much with the Hurt Syndicate, they're just going to be one and done with every team they face. And it's way too early to be talking about who's going to beat them. I don't care about any of that right now. But, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how this plays out, and especially with stuff with Max. I don't know what the end game is here with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate, because he is outnumbered, number one. So even if he wanted to get, super cheeky and be coy about it, they'll kill him. This isn't a matter of him manipulating FTR back in the day. He's messing around with Lashley and Shelton. They'll kill him. So I'm interested to see what the end game is.
He's swimming with the sharks here, isn't he? And my girlfriend, actually, my girlfriend's a huge MJF fan. She absolutely loves him. She made a really good point when we watched Dynamite this week. She said, this is the first time in a group situation that he's ever faced rejection.
That's a great point.
Because when he got accepted into the inner circle back in the day, he formed the Pinnacle around himself. He's always been like the center. He's never been the guy on the outside trying to get in and like failing. And then obviously we had I think the Adam Cole, although it ended, pretty painfully. for all involved.
Mm.
It did. I think it was quite fascinating in that it sort of set him up as like it changed him fundamentally. Like it broke a part of him that was willing to sort of trust people, and it sort of fundamentally changed his character a little bit, which I think is quite fascinating. And I don't know what like you said, I don't know what the end game is here. Is this going to lead to like a Cedric Alexander coming in to become the third man instead of him? And are they going to fight each other, or are they going to is Max going to fight each member of the Hurt Syndicate one at a time, or like what's going to go on here? But it's something for him to do. It's entertaining. I did like he addressed. I'll just talk about Max's little sideline here. He addressed that he's not in the Owen. Because even though he wants his title back, he doesn't want to wrestle every week because that's like the suckers or something. He'd rather get into the Hurt Syndicate, get the power from them, and just propel himself straight to the top. So it's almost like he's almost admitted, look, I'm using you guys to get a title shot, which is probably not gonna endear him to Bobby and Shelton anyway. So
no kidding, yeah. You got one of your top heels talking about he doesn't like work rate. I don't want to work. What are you kidding me? I don't want to wrestle. Fernando says MJF is going to get back together with FTR to take on the Hurt Syndicate and win the tag team championships.
I don't think I could take another FTR title run in AEW. I think I've had enough. There's not because I don't like them, just because there's so many other deserving tag teams in that company.
Yeah, we'll get there. I got thoughts on that. So JP says, rumor I heard Jericho's contract is up in a couple of months and may not come back. I mean, look, the door is open to WWE whenever he wants to go back.
And he did just do that interview where he literally said, I would not be against going back. He's put the feelers out, I think, just to sort of see what the money might be, maybe.
And if he does, he does. I mean, would they miss him in terms of star power at this point in time? I think maybe 2 years ago you could say yes. I don't know now, man. I don't know how I feel about that. I wonder if he were to go, what if imagine this, and I don't know how many people's giving him credit for anything right now, but imagine if he were to go back and the very next week on Dynamite, the ratings drop. I mean, drop, and they stay dropped from that point on. You can point to Jericho and say, oh my God, that guy was responsible for 100,000, 50,000, whatever the number is. Like when Punk left, there's a difference between now and when Punk left, obviously. I don't know,
it's
man.
one of those where I think if hypothetically, if Jericho did move back to WWE, it would be a weird situation where I think both sets of fans would be claiming some sort of victory. Because I'm not trying to generalize here, but I think if you look at the typical, I mean, when I say typical, I mean like the insufferable subset of both fan bases. WWE fans obsess over ratings and numbers, and AEW fans obsess over work rate and in-ring quality.
Well said. Yeah, that's
and I think Jericho moving to WWE satisfies both of their agendas.
Yeah. It reminds me of, what was it, the black draft on the Chappelle show when they were drafting Eminem, I think. One side or the other. I can't remember how it went. Yeah, something like that. Let's move on here, kids. Let's talk about Mercedes Moné defeating Julia Hart to retain, or well, it wasn't a title match, but it was the Owen Hart Cup tournament.
Yeah, to advance in the tournament.
13 minutes for this one. What did you think about this overall? Before I go, I want to give you a shot here. What do you think?
I really liked it. I mean, I think Julia didn't mesh with Mercedes the way that some of her better recent opponents have, but I don't think that's a knock on Julia when you look at the caliber of the wrestlers that Mercedes has been going up against. Like, Julia is not on that level, but I think she had a very serviceable match with a very competent work. I think Mercedes, like we said, I don't think she can elevate someone like a Will Ospreay can, but she can definitely put on a decent match with someone. I enjoyed it. I like Julia. One thing I will say, she gave a lot to Julia. Julia, I think, one of the only people I know who's managed to get out of Mercedes' submission finisher.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
That really surprised me when she locked that in. I thought it was all over, and like, I really respect Mercedes for letting her have that moment there. That was really cool. And then she beat her like 5 seconds later, so it didn't, it didn't. It was like a false finish. It didn't sort of mean anything in the end. But I really liked it. I like Julia Hart. Yeah, I think she looked decent in the loss here. It won't hurt her in any way. Mercedes obviously was going to go through because that's the storylines down there with Athena, and that's all going to be going on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing that Julie didn't have was a puppet. It's fine. She didn't have a puppet. But I thought this was really good as well. I like Julia quite a bit. I mean, Mercedes is, when I say Julia is your future, that doesn't mean Mercedes is washed up, kids. I think Mercedes is doing the best work of her career in AEW. I think that the stuff she did in WWE was entertaining. Oh, she had some great matches. However, I think she's really blossomed since she left that company. And I think the Mercedes we have today is not the Mercedes that we had then for obvious reasons. Number one, she's more in control. But number two, she's gotten to work talent from all around the world that she would never have had a chance to work in WWE. And I think it's just made her that much better. So now when she works in AEW homegrown, it's sort of iron sharpening iron, maybe. And maybe it's, I'm like you said, maybe she's not lifting Julie Hart up to superstardom, but she is, they could replay that clip of her getting out of that submission as much as they'd want to and tell her, I was this close. I was that close. You got lucky, that kind of thing. So at least she left her with some air in her lungs after it was all over, for sure.
Yeah, because like Julia, after she got out of Mercedes, she locked her submission on. And it was like there was a moment there where it was like, oh my god! I mean, I don't think anyone believed for more than a second that Julia was going to win, but yeah, it was a real moment. It was a second of shock. It was like, oh my god, yeah, she did that. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree. I think, like you said, Tom, Mercedes, like you say, she's gone out and she's wrestled. I think her going to New Japan and to Stardom was such a transformative experience for her.
Big time.
Like, just to see, and because she's such a huge fan of Japanese wrestling, and just for her to finally get there and to have that experience and to have those matches, I think it developed her so much in terms of it she's got new facets that she never had. I'm not knocking her work in WWE. She was for the style of wrestling they want to present. She was really good at it.
Yeah,
but she's become such a well-rounded, versatile, effective performer since she left. Like you say, now she can bring all those skills back to America, and now, like you say, she's now improving people like Julia Hart when she wrestles them. So,
and man, I don't know when and if the day comes that she wants to go back to WWE. I don't know. We always assume that's what's going to happen. Sometimes it doesn't. It didn't happen with Kurt. I mean, not on the level that people thought it would. Kurt was in TNA longer than he was in WWE, which is crazy. So maybe we don't. But dude, if that day does come, she will be signing her own check. They'll let her fill in the amount. Because, like, man, her stock is so much bigger than it was when she worked for them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man. Yeah, I like her a lot. Let's move on to, we teased it earlier, kids, about this FTR stuff. The Death Riders, and that's Claudio Pack, the Dampire. I love that name. And Wheeler, Utah, defeating rated FTR by pinfall for AEW World Trios Championship. I love how when Dax turned, the crowd went, whoa, whoa. And then when Cash turned with them, they went, oh. And I'm like, do none of y'all ever watch wrestling? Like, this is... I don't know if that was just a matter of, oh, we really don't want them to turn. I don't know. But, like, I don't know. I got thoughts about this.
And if there's one thing FTR love, it's pulling tricks out of the 80s playbook, isn't it? They're old school guys. They like old school booking. They like old school shock value and heel turns and stuff like that.
They do. I'm okay with that, but I was hoping for a lot more. I laid out a scenario last week of Dax turning flat out heel, joining the Death Riders, taping his fists up, wearing black, becoming the enforcer of the Death Riders. I still love the idea because they've had Dax work separately, Cash has worked singles, and you're like, you forget that Cash is a good worker because he tags all the time. And I'm like, I think they're going down this road. And hey, in 6 months, put them back together. Who cares? They'll be red hot. But obviously they're not going that route. What'd you think about, first of all, the match and the turn afterward?
I mean, yeah, the match was fine. I mean, you look at all the guys in it, and they all know what they're doing, don't they? They all know how to get from A to B with, I mean, to sort of looking to the future, a bit of a spoiler. Pac had apparently a pretty nasty injury on Dynamite this week.
Yes.
And his you heard him scream when his ankle hit the floor after that Booker bomb. I hope he's not hurt too bad, and it doesn't derail whatever's happening here. But yeah, match was fine. Again, sub 15 minutes. It was paced pretty well. I always get a bit of fear with FTR matches that they can drag on a little bit and become a bit self-indulgent. I remember the CM Punk Collision era when every week was a 30-minute FTR tag match in the main event.
Every week.
Oh, that got old real fast. But no, this was snappy. I think Yuta looked really good in this, weirdly. They really elevated him, which is, I think that if anyone's going to come out of this Death Riders, whatever unsavory word you choose to describe it, I think Yuta could really come out a winner here, as he's probably going to develop some real nice character beats and like some really nice sort of facets to his personality. And I think he looked really good here. I really liked that bit a few weeks ago where he was like really conflicted and then it sort of all went away. But hey, yeah, as Chad's saying there, like injury bugs kind of biting AEW right now. Orange is hurt. Jay White as well is hurt.
Brian Cage
is hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, there is someone else. You're right. I can't remember who it is.
Mark Davis hurt his foot.
Oh my God, I forgot about him. And then like we had Dawn Callis on Wednesday talking about they're opening up the ranks. You know, send me your bank account number, whatever he said.
Yeah, we're gonna recruit you. We're gonna get you paid.
Yeah.
Chad also saying Juice is about back. Yeah, Juice apparently. It was his birthday today or yesterday, very recently.
Oh, there you go.
And yeah, he's back. Apparently, he's imminently back. It's such a tough break for them too. It seems like Juice and Jay White just can't get back on TV at the same time.
And Pac, it always seems to be an ankle. It always seems to be that kind of injury with him, doesn't it?
Yeah. So just before, I'll tell you a very brief little story. So just before he signed with AEW, like literally a week before he signed with AEW, me and Jay went to a indie show in Liverpool, like a local indie show, and Pac wrestled. This is like literally, he must have been in talks with AEW at the time because he debuted like 5 days later, and we saw him take a flat back bump on a concrete floor. With no padding, and the noise it made was horrendous.
I'm sure.
It was like if you drop a steak off off the roof of your house and it hits the driveway. And I was like, oh my God, that man literally put his AEW career in jeopardy to take a bump on a concrete floor in front of 200 people.
Isn't that crazy? Trust me, man. I've been around so many workers over the years, like behind the curtain, and it's a different breed, man. They're a different breed. It's something else. Like you hear Flair talking about when he first trained, he trained with Vern Gagne, who Vern Gagne was a workhorse of a trainer. And he made them go outside and flat back on concrete, like several in a row. Yep. And Flair's like, after the first day, I left. So I'm not going back. This is ridiculous. But of course we know he did go back. But yeah, it's Vern's thing was, if you can't do this out here, how you gonna fall on your back 300 days out of the year? You got to be able to do this, you know. And I'm thinking concrete's a little much there, Vern, isn't it? You know,
maybe start on a wooden floor, possibly. Maybe.
Just saying. Just saying. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, we've got thoughts about this. There was a story that came out this week that supposedly Mox's segments were good for ratings and stuff. So the story now is that they're going to keep that belt on him for a long time because he's helping ratings supposedly. And, you know, I'm on the record. I like John a lot. I always have. I think it's a better company with John Moxley. I really believe that. You know, so when I criticize the angle, it's nothing to do with him or the rest of the guys. I just don't know what's going on at any given time. And, you know, Claudio, Pac, and Wheeler, great, but they never defend those belts, or rarely ever. They're just running point for John, which it is what it is. So again, Tacey, it's all about the booking here more than it is anything else. Do you think that are they diverting Copeland away now from Death Riders and focus solely on FTR moving forward?
I think so. I mean, obviously, that the sort of, I think we talked about it last week, that the sort of everyone's saying now, oh, it's going to be Christian and Cope versus FTR at some point. But how do we get there? Because Christian's this uber heel who like hates everybody, and him and Cope had like a blood feud like 6 months ago. So how do you go from that to all of a sudden, just because Nick Wayne or Kip Sabian beats up Christian doesn't mean he's a good person all of a sudden.
No.
So how do you turn that into a cohesive angle? I think interestingly, Tony Schiavone said on commentary on Dynamite this week that Cope was out indefinitely.
Is that what he said? Oh wow.
Yeah. So and they actually teased. Obviously, it's not going to be the case. They teased that it could be a career-ending injury. One thing I will say, to go back to the angle, obviously it was a little predictable, obviously, but I will say, with all the sort of shenanigans that FTR were doing, like the bit where they got into Cash got onto the stretcher and put the neck brace on, that's the most entertaining I think they've been in the last 12 months. In terms of, they showed more personality in that one segment than I think they've shown in about a year.
And these were real EMTs. You know how you could tell? They were laughing. the women were cracking up, and I'm like, those aren't workers. Those are probably the real deal. And they told them, hey, you want to be on camera? You guys can roll the stretcher out. Because both women were laughing. I'm like, oh my God, move the camera, yeah, crazy. Well, look, I like FTR a lot. It's I'm an old school wrestling guy, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, they're going to be easy to get booed because people like to turn on them for various different reasons. And I know the RH World Tag Team Championships are floating around, but those things are locked up with Dustin and Guevara, locked up, which is fine. I mean, at some point, I'm going to say, right? Is it crazy to do a second set of tag team belts, like call them whatever, blah, 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 tag team championships? Do you think that makes sense, or is that too much?
But is a secondary group title not what the Trios Champions should be?
You'd think so.
It feels again. This we talked about this last week. The problem I think we have with the Death Riders and the current sort of situation AEW is booked into now is that so many storylines have like strangleholds on belts that there doesn't appear to be any sense of, like, that's the problem with the Death Riders. Is like I love Claudio Castagnoli. I watched him in Chikara 15 years ago when he was doing all sorts of nonsense. I love Pac. I love Wheeler Yuta. But there's just no suspense around these belts. There's no feeling that something could happen.
By the way, how about the guy with the Don Callis scar? Yeah, there was a guy in the front row dressed like Don Callis.
And he's been at like 2 different shows, so he's paying his own money to travel around and follow these shows.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of them, if he was a backstage, one of the company, a crew member.
He was like a merch guy or something, or a ring crew. Yeah. I like to think. I hope he's not just some weird millionaire who's flying around America impersonating Don Callis at wrestling shows.
By the way, Tony Schiavone is going to get laid out tomorrow night, and he might get color. When he looked in the camera Wednesday talking about, Dax, what would your young daughter think of this? I'm like, they're going to kill you, or they're going to say, I'm just getting word. Something's going on in the back, and Tony going to be laid out in the back. I'm telling you.
And what's the easiest way to get heat in AEW is to threaten or enact violence on Tony Schiavone, because he is just this like beloved granddad of wrestling that you don't put your hands on Tony. It's like It's the rules.
And JR's sitting there going, "Hey, long as it's not me, I'm good," because the other company did that crap to him all the time. Let's move on, kids. Let's talk about. Forget arguably, in my opinion, this is the prime time main event star of your company is Timeless Tony Storm, defeating Megan Bayne, coming out with the Rocky motif. I don't know if it landed, but I still liked it. And Megan looked like a beast again. Last week we said Megan should be showcased. This is their opportunity to show her off. Let her earn it. Because in my opinion, she hadn't earned it. Now I feel like she's one step closer to earning that. Maybe she already has with that one match. But man, she was a killer in this match. And boy, Tony gave her... Did Tony give her too much? Or do you think it was just enough?
No, I will admit, I think I was totally wrong with my opinion on how this match should have gone. I think what they did here was actually pretty perfect. I wanted... In my rush of blood to the head, I wanted Megan to win this in a pretty dominant fashion. But I think the way they booked this was pretty damn good. Like Tony felt it was Rocky. It was Rocky versus Apollo, and Tony was fighting from underneath like pretty much the entire match. She had to tough it out. She had to go the distance, like all the Rocky tropes. She put it on the screen right there. It was she told us before the match how it was going to go.
Yeah,
and I think that was genius. Yeah, Megan, like you say, I think they were in a bit of they could have got themselves into between a rock and a hard place with Megan, like you say. If she gets squashed, then what does that mean? She's useless. She's got no aura. She goes to the back of the line, and she's just another person. But if she wins, then how do you, again, as you said, how do you explain to the crowd that she's a big deal? Well, you have her dominate the champion, but then the champion just finds, like Toni Storm, her whole thing has been just finding a way to win. Like, interestingly, she couldn't put her away. She couldn't beat her with a move. She couldn't pin her. She had to hit her with what she calls it, the big package, because it's all sexy. But she had to win with her roll up, which has been her sort of becoming her secret weapon. It's becoming her sort of like ace in the hole.
I like on Wednesday, she brought keys out to Taz, and she's like, "Mr. Tasmaniac, I've moved your car, but I left my chewing tobacco in it." I'm like, she's so great, dude. I swear to God. I really like this, man. I think Megan can officially be called a killer. I think she was great. She really stepped up. And again, Tony gave her a lot. I think it was slow dancing up to the line of maybe it's too much. Did she kick out at one at one point in this match?
So there's a sort of sequence where I think Tony hit 3 hip attacks.
Yes.
Like one after the other, maybe something else, maybe a Storm Zero, I can't remember. And then there was an instant kick out, and I thought that was it. I thought, like, she's going to wake up now and kill her. Like, I thought as soon as that kick out happened, it's like, here we come. Here's the F5 or whatever she calls it, the fall from grace, I think it's called. And that's it. Now it's over. Tony's hit with everything, and this is the moment where Tony knows she's effed up. Basically, she can't do it. Because I always go back to one of my favorite bits of booking in AEW was when Darby lost the TNT title to Rusev. There was a moment where something happens in the match, and Darby like sits up and he looks at Sting, and he sells with his facial expressions like, "I can't beat this guy." And then Rusev just kills him and pins him, and I thought that was going to be a moment that was going to happen in this match. I thought Tony would come to this realization that she's effed around and found out.
Wow.
And Megan would just dominate her, but no, they actually booked it, I think, a little bit better. Megan almost got like a little bit too comfortable, I think, in the match. Not in terms of her character. She was like getting a bit loose. She was getting a bit like she thought she had it won. She thought it was in the bag, and then Tony gets the win out of nowhere. And I think that was a really, really good. Is Megan getting the Camille push? I mean, did Camille get a push? Oh, I mean, are you saying has Megan replaced Camille in terms of, is she going to get a push that was maybe scheduled for Camille? Possibly, yeah.
She I think they mishandled Camille from the moment she got there. They made her the muscle for Mercedes, which I think would have been a good fit. But then Camille got knocked down a lot, and I'm like, when you're a heater, your hard muscle gets knocked down and smacked around. I don't what like it didn't do any favors.
She never felt that dangerous. She was always like Bebop or Rocksteady. She was like the level 1 boss. You know what I mean? Good
pull. Yeah, she was definitely Rocksteady. I mean, I think the best moment she had was when Mercedes was on the mic and she goes, "Oh, shut up." I loved it. That was the best thing ever. But then she just disappeared because I think she's injured, I think.
So Tony said in an interview a few weeks ago that we haven't seen the last of her, words to the effect of. And so maybe there's a reckoning coming from, because there's unfinished business between her and Mercedes, the way it all sort of ended, isn't there? And sort of stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Chad Too Bad saying Mariah May rumors going to WWE. I've not heard that. Have you?
So I've not heard rumors that she's going. The rumors that her contract's expiring later in the year. Which is insane because that was a very short contract, if so. But surely she, especially when you think with Mina Shirakawa coming into AEW in the imminent future, surely Mariah staying in the company makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't want to see her go. I kind of feel like I don't know, man. I kind of feel like if she goes, is she going to be just another face in that company? I mean, dude, there's a danger of that being said for both companies now. Like, I don't know, man. I don't want to see her go though. But having said that, how in the world do they follow up? Her first thing there was her biggest thing and her only thing, and now they got to move her on to somebody else.
How do you replicate, or not replicate, but like live up to the first program she had with Tony? Because that was unbelievable. That was a year of long-term storytelling, like perfect matches, and everything like that. She won the Owen last year, and she's not even in it this year, which is interesting.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, to say the least. Well, kids, that's 7 matches down. We got 5 to go. Before we hit that, let's do this.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com.
There we go, kids. Boinkstudios.com. Go check it out. I'd very much appreciate it. BOINK, boinkstudios.com. Updated on the regular, as the kids say. Don't know if they still say that anymore. But if they do, I just repeated it. Well, there you go. So we've got 5 more here. Let's talk about Kyle Fletcher with the aforementioned Don Callis defeating Mark Briscoe. Now, I'm not suggesting that these guys run it back all the time. However, these two guys have really good matches. Like Mark is, and I'd be shocked to hear anybody from Okada to Fletcher, whoever, say that Mark didn't more than hold up his end. Mark is so good. And maybe it's because of the package. He doesn't get singled out as being one of the best they have. Dude, he's so good in the ring. I hope other people see that, because I sure do. What'd you think about this one?
Yeah, Mark Briscoe is one of those guys. I mean, I was a old school Ring of Honor guy back when the Briscoes were feuding with Kings of Wrestling and all sorts back in the day. I've loved the Briscoes forever. Mark's one of those guys, isn't he? Because his face, this was the Briscoes' whole shtick. Their face didn't quite fit. He looks a bit dumb. He talks. He's got that. He's got that accent. But you ask he's a wrestler's wrestler. You ask anybody in that locker room, and what really tells is last year in Blood and Guts, Mark Briscoe was the one who gave the chair shot to Jack Perry.
He was. And
if you watch him do it really closely, he does everything perfectly. Like, he lets go at the right time. He makes it as safe as he possibly can. Like, Mark Briscoe is an expert at doing really dangerous stuff as safely as possible.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, he's fantastic.
And Jay was as well, back when we still had him with us. And you put a guy like that with a guy like Kyle Fletcher, who, as we talked about, is on an absolute tear at the moment in terms of match quality and what he's willing to do in the ring. And credit to Kyle Fletcher as well. I mean, I'm not a body guy. I'm not like everyone has to be jacked. I like wrestlers who look like normal people. But Kyle Fletcher has shown how when you sign for a major company, if you want to kick on and go up the card, you do what Kyle Fletcher does.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the body thing is a weird thing for me, because at any given time when I was really like covering WWE before AEW, I think, I was the guy kind of giving Owens a hard time, and I get pushback so often from the audience and from other people. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying Tom, what about Foley? I'm like, so let me get this straight. Any guy with a belly is compared to Foley. Come on, man. Foley was a one, is it too big to say Foley was a once in a lifetime talent? Is that too big to lay on him?
I would say he was a once in a lifetime wrestling mind.
I agree with that. Yeah.
He saw, and he had to, because he knew he was never going to be jacked. He was never going to be this cut bodybuilder, even like on an Austin level. So he attacked the business from a different angle. And like, how do I make people remember me when I can't take my shirt off and look like a Greek god? Yeah.
I used to catch crap for that, and I would be like, if Foley's the bar, that's an impossible bar. Just because a guy's got a stomach or belly on him doesn't mean, Foley, stop. You're comparing him to somebody that was in a league of his own. Like, my pushback has always been, you have access to trainers, you have access to equipment, I'm sure. Now, I mean, I know you're on the road all the time, but you could probably afford a gym membership. I mean, come on, guys. Like, and again, I don't want nor need every wrestler to look like John Cena. I've never needed that. I don't want it now. I don't need Darby to come back ripped like Rey Mysterio did that one time. And I like Rey a lot, but brother, when Rey got ripped, if you remember back that far, he came back. I'm like, what happened? Like, when Rey's arms were that big around, all of a sudden he's walking like this.
He was like wider than he was tall.
Yeah. Yes. Isn't that crazy? I don't know, man. Yeah. So no, I get both sides of the argument, man. Fernando says it's time to bring back the Jurassic Express, the scapegoat gimmick now. Not doing it for me. I don't think the scapegoat gimmick has done it for anybody. I think it's weird to chain yourself to a gimmick that has something to do with the guy that you fired. I think it's time to move on. And I like Jack a lot, but I think he needs a whole other thing. That's my opinion.
I mean, I like his sort of like nihilistic sort of aspect of his character.
Sure.
But yeah, as you say, you don't have to constantly be reminding us about CM Punk every time he's on the screen.
And every time he's out, that's what people are thinking about. It's crazy. Like that Punk's living rent free in that company's head. It is what it is. So we also had Bandito defeating Chris Jericho. Ooh, that was a close one for the ROH World Championship. I will tell you this. I watched the entire show the day after. So I watched it Monday. When Jericho pinned him, my keys were on the keyboard messaging you, Joe, and Jay. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, backspace. They're restarting.
Yeah, they got me. They got me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it was earned, but I was apoplectic when this match first finished the way it did. But then I was also quite mad when they restarted it and why they restart. I mean, can you just get your mum to say the guy cheated and the match restarts? Is that the precedent we're setting here?
I mean, take your mom on the road with you moving forward. That way you're covered.
Did Swerve, like they had Swerve's family members at ringside?
Yes.
And none of them could do this in the main event?
No. I don't know why. I was talking to Phil, shout out Phil Lindsay. Phil and I were talking off mic the other night, and I said, when they counted 3, you could feel and hear the air leave that room when Jericho got that 3 count. And you could see expressions, not anger. It was more like people looking around. And I'm like, again, he's a Hall of Famer. Who am I to talk? Jericho's a real deal, kids, no matter what you want to say about him. So what do I know? But if you're Jericho, how do you not see and hear that? It wasn't about, ooh, I hate him. Ugh, he cheated. Grr.
No. It was.
Yes. They were upset because they're like, again? Like, that is not the same reaction as a heel reaction. That is not the same thing. That is, oh my God, I'm so tired of this. Why is it that we all seem to see that, but nobody there can seem to see that? Am I crazy?
It's like you say. It's just. I mean, it's almost. I'm going to give Jericho credit here now. It's almost a credit to Jericho that you want/need to see him get his comeuppance, because he's such a despicable, horrible heel that you don't want him to win. And it's not like you say. It's just. I don't know. It just. This match made me so angry.
Yeah.
Because I don't like messy booking like this. It didn't need to be like this. It could have, Fernando just said it's a luchador tradition in Mexico to get family involved in the storylines. Okay, but it didn't have to go like this. Like, you could have had Jericho getting his mum's face on the outside. She could have slapped him. He could have got back up on the apron, 21 plex, boom, end of the show. Jericho loses clean. Happy days. We all go home, and I don't swear at the TV.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I don't get it. They went 18 minutes. Like, that thing could have been 13 in and out and would have been fine.
Like, a tight 15 would have been perfect here.
Sure.
Yeah. A tight 12. I mean, Bandito's a great wrestler, and I've got nothing against him. He's going to have a really good Ring of Honor title reign. I think he's going to have some great matches. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt so unnecessary. I think unnecessary is the word. And I think a lot of the criticism you can put on Jericho over the last 12 months comes with the word unnecessary. A lot of the stuff he does is unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If
that's fair.
If there's a sort of lean, sort of perfect version of a professional wrestling match, at the moment, Chris Jericho is the furthest away from that you can possibly be. Everything, and I use this as a large man, Tom, so I'm not making fun of his body, but everything around Jericho feels flabby.
Yeah. It and again, I don't know if it's tone deafness because you're in it and you don't see it. Like, I
Well,
just
then
don't.
with Jericho, it often I know what you mean. Jericho, like you say, Jericho is a veteran, and he's wrestled all over the world, and he's wrestled in every company, and he should know. He should be able to see the signs and read the room. But like you say, is it a case of he's too close to it? Is it a case of it's almost become like a point of contention between him and the fans? It's like, no, I'm right. This is the vision. You have to see the vision, and there's a bit of that with the main event as well. Maybe we'll get to that. But is it a case of no? You need to understand that we know best, and we are going to tell you what you want. And I don't think that's a healthy place to be in when you're in any sort of industry that services customers, because whether it be retail or hospitality or entertainment, I think that's a really bad road to go down.
That is a McMahon way of booking. We're going to tell you what you want. Like it didn't work then. It doesn't work now.
And it only works when there's no other option. And boy,
sure.
howdy, there's options.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie says, remember Dusty had a belly and people remember him. Number one. And Robbie, Dusty is my man. I get it. But like, again, so we explain away a body because of Dusty. First of all, Dusty didn't wrestle with a shirt on. Okay. That's number one. Number two, if you're going to be in the ring, if you're going to look, at least tan, do something. But like, again, I didn't mean to turn this into the crapping on Kevin Owens hour or anything. It's nothing against Kevin. But again, you're going to wrestle in a shirt. Come on, man. Like, own it. Like JD Drake owns it. Otis owns it. Just go out there. What are we doing? Like, if that's your size, own it. It's okay to be super heavyweight. It's okay to be not in, bodybuilder shape. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, where I'm coming from, I'm just like, I don't know, just own it. And, if you're skin and bones, if you're Cheeseburger doesn't cover up. He owns it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I view it differently than other people. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
I will say Dusty as well. Dusty always made a point of mentioning the fact that he didn't look like an athlete. That was part of his everyman appeal. Like this Hard Times promo, one of his most favorite promos of all time. He talks about having a belly, and he talks about not looking like the athlete of the day. Because he's not.
He's supposed to look.
Because he's not. His whole shtick was he wasn't supposed to be there, but he got there.
Yes. My honey's just a little big. My belly's just a little big. Yeah. Great. So I like Bandito a lot. One more thing about this before we move on. Here's something else I'll say about Bandito. He is so thick now that I'm like, when he goes up top, I get nervous. You know what I mean? Like, he's not streamlined anymore because he's really muscled up. So, like, I don't know, man. Every time he goes up, I'm like, please be careful.
I think that's the trade-off, isn't it? Because I think he's realised he needs to get a little bigger, a little stronger. He needs to hit that 21 plex on bigger guys, on main event level guys. He's not throwing around luchadors anymore. If he wants to be the Ring of Honor World Champion, he's got to wrestle big, average wrestling dudes, like big 6 foot plus jacked guys.
Yeah, it's fair. Fernando says Eddie Kingston comes out there with his shirt on. Can't argue that. Well, he comes out with a shirt on, but he don't work with a shirt on.
No,
he wears a singlet.
He wrestled in a singlet, and he takes the straps down.
Yes, he does all the time. He owns it. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Adam Cole defeated Daniel Garcia to become your new AEW TNT champion. I tried. Okay. I did not feel this. And I like both of them a lot, but I just didn't, I don't know. I was going to say it didn't work for me as if it failed. I don't know that it failed. I just didn't feel the feud. I didn't feel this. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me.
I think we can draw a line under this now and both guys can move on to something a bit more engaging for them.
Yeah.
The match was mechanically fine. It was, as we said it would be. It hit all the right notes, but I didn't hear the music.
Yeah.
One thing I did like at the end, they did like, I don't know if it was intentional or not. They had a moment where Garcia was really upset that he lost, and it was almost like a mirror image of the end of the first All In London, where it was Adam Cole trying to comfort him with the title.
I did get that. That was a nice callback. I did pick up on that. That was awesome.
And it's whether Adam, I don't know how, because they've renamed the Kingdom or whatever they're called again now. They're Paragon now.
Are they Paragon now? I know he said that.
Or he said it, and they got latched onto by outlets. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But then is he gonna become? Is the because Adam Cole's the most easily corruptible man when it comes to, you give Adam Cole a little bit of power and he'll turn evil in like 5 seconds. So
Sure.
now he's a champion. Is this going to be a because you couldn't have him come back as a heel because he was gone for so long and he went through so much like in real life. So is this now how you're going to sort of have him corrupt a bit? And because I think Adam Cole is more interesting when he's a bad guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think that's maybe why I don't think we talked too much about it. Maybe why this feud was a bit flat was because there wasn't a defined heel and face. We didn't have any strong dynamics from either guy, really.
It's always a problem. It's in my mind, it's always a problem. And you can run face versus face better than you can run heel versus heel. But and for my money, it'll always be a problem because somebody has to get the heat in the match. It's just how it works. Somebody has to have the upper hand. The crowd has to clap for somebody to make a comeback. It's how wrestling's engineered. It's how it's built from the ground up.
It's like these guys can go out and you can run the storyline where it's like, oh, I respect that guy and we're going to have a good match. Well, you can, but that's just an exhibition match, man. Where's the hate? Where's the stakes? Where's the emotion? Where's the
exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to the semi-main event, kids. At 31 minutes, this thing was 35 seconds short of topping the main event, 36 seconds short of being the main event time. Kenny Omega defeated Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey to retain the AEW International Championship. So you and I talked before we went live here today about the fact that a lot of people are saying the match went too long. First of all, do you think the match went too long?
So Tom, I'm a millennial. I've got a chronically butchered attention span, and I don't. I mean, social media and YouTube is the story of my brain, and I don't like it when matches go over 20-25 minutes because I think they drag. This match, I think, earned every one of these 31 minutes.
Interesting. And I like that view.
We mentioned, didn't we? I think I said to you before the show. Like, I think you almost got a little bit more. But like, so I'm a huge fan of tag team wrestling because I think I love the idea of a wrestling match that has shifting dynamics. So you've got not just one man versus one guy or one girl versus one girl or whatever. You've got different combinations of people who can do stuff in the ring. So with a tag team, you've got a Brian Keith and a Big Bill. You've got a big guy, little guy, and so all of a sudden the big guy's in the ring with someone, and then you tag out and the little guy's in the ring with someone, and it's a totally different match. It refreshes everything. The whole landscape of the match changes. I think that's the same in a three-way match. Like you've got, is Kenny and Ricochet, are they going against each other, and then all of a sudden Kenny's out and Speedball's in, and then it's a totally different dynamic to the match. And I think having the ability to refresh constantly lets you go a little bit longer because there's more combinations, there's more possibilities. It's not just two guys doing moves for half an hour. It's constantly changing dynamics. And then they even broke it up. Like Ricochet got on commentary, which was fantastic, and then Speedball kicked him into next week, which
he's like doing that. Crazy.
It was incredible. And then you had Speedball really showed out here. I thought he had a fantastic. If you weren't sold on Mike Bailey, I mean, I've never been the biggest Speedball guy. I think I never quite got him until very recently. He was always because he's a bit of a weird dude.
Yeah.
But here he is in a match. He comes out in Chrono Trigger inspired gear, which I loved. Dressed up like Frog from Chrono Trigger. I loved that. He did a crane kick on Ricochet, which looked absolutely incredible.
Oh my God. Brought the house down. That thing was crazy.
And then we haven't even talked about Kenny Omega, and he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he's also here. So,
yeah. You're like, oh yeah, Kenny's there. I forgot. Yeah. Kenny's prowess on the mic is always going to be a bit suspect for me. But getting in the ring, you can't dispute what the guy can do. And he was the glue that kind of held everything together here. And
considering he's still on his way back from serious injury as well.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Let the other two guys work a little bit. I'm gonna breathe a little bit. We'll be fine. Yeah. He absolutely brought it. I mean, it was a really, really fun match. I think it went too long. However, I do not think that ruined it. Kids, I'll tell you what I told Tacey here before we went live today. The method to which we book pro wrestling shows these days has changed so, and even back to the Ruthless Aggression era, and even 10 years ago, honestly, because what it used to be was, you bring them up, you bring them down, you bring them up, you bring them down. And now with companies like specifically AEW, you'll have out of 10 matches, 8 of them, it seems like they all place bets backstage to see who could steal the show. And we benefit from that. Don't get me wrong, not complaining, but what it does to a live crowd, people get exhausted from that. And I worked 100 years ago in retail, and the company I worked for run this stupid gimmick where they basically, you stand back and look at the shelves, everything was on sale, right? So everything had a special tag, and it was all mind games about we want to draw attention. But my feedback was always, if everything's on sale, nothing's on sale. Like there should be these 5 items at regular price, but item number 6 is the best price you've ever seen it. That's a sale. So when you tell me that out of 10 matches, 8 of them are 5-star, I don't know. Are they as special now as they would have been? And I'm not saying Tom's advocating for crappy matches. No, of course not. But I don't know. Are we taking away to a degree of and maybe you can do this right now on this show live. Can you right now name the 5 best AEW matches you've ever seen? Or would you need a few minutes? Would it have to be 6 because 5's too hard? Do you know what I mean? And again, I'm not complaining. I know it sounds like I'm complaining. Do you see where I'm coming from here? Am I losing you?
I would need an hour and access to Wikipedia.
Same.
And I could probably do you a top 10, not in order.
Sure. Yeah, same.
And to sort of go on for your metaphor there, Tom, it's it's the whole feeling is like if you have pizza for your tea every night in a week, all of a sudden your Saturday night pizza doesn't feel as special as it did previously.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you got to have plain broccoli every night, but
Sure.
But maybe you just have a little chicken and rice every now and then, or just a little, just something to make you look forward to the weekend, So.
And again, I just need to hush because I swear now that I say it all out loud on the show, it feels like I'm advocating for crappy matches. It really does, and I really don't mean it to sound that way.
I don't think what we want isn't less quality wrestling; it's less spectacle, maybe.
Yeah,
because I think the spectacle is what takes the shine off each other.
Yeah,
you can have an excellent. I think one of the things we've lost in the last sort of 15, 20 years of wrestling is the art of a good 3-star TV match.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, one that will it make the top 10 that year? Maybe not, but maybe it would. Both guys in the match knew what they had to do, and they did it. There's such a thing as a utility player. There's such a thing as, old-fashioned term, but being a good hand. All right, your job is to go out there. Your job is not to show up the main event. And I've heard that being said behind curtains before. It's please don't blow the main event out of the water. We want those guys to shine, So go in, do 10 minutes, do your thing. But remember, the main event's going 20, and we need that to be the star of the show. I don't know.
But I think partly is our old friend's social media to blame here, because everything has to be clipped and everything has to have engagement.
Yes.
And you can't take a clip of a solid match and be like, here's some guys doing a head scissors or a body slam. It's got to be, look at this guy jumping off this, or this guy going through this, or here's this insane sequence in this match, and that's what people look at. And you want if you're a promoter, you want to have the most clippable bits in your matches that you can put on your social media to make people look at your show.
Can't argue with that. Shane says, much like Ricochet's promos are hideous and that laugh is ridiculous. I disagree on both, but I guess it's working because I'm talking about it. I disagree because you're not supposed to like it. And Tasty, this is a fine line between what Shane said and what we said earlier about the Jericho situation. Like, Ricochet knows what's working for him as a heel. He does these things because it's making you not like him. This is not a matter of, I don't want to see him on my TV anymore. This is a matter of, I can't wait to see someone kick him in the face like Speedball did.
But it's the difference. Like, people say, like, we're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. We're not booing at Ricochet, we're booing with Ricochet. Like, we know he knows it's awful.
Yeah.
And we're all in on the joke, and we're all having a good time together.
Yes. Absolutely. That's why I said, yeah.
Whereas with Jericho, you almost feel like there might be a lack of self-awareness, whereas Ricochet feels the most self-aware I think he's ever been in his entire career.
This is why Santino worked. This is why Goldust worked. This is why Undertaker worked in the dead zombie gravedigger gimmick. Like, we know they knew, but they were so bought in that Ricochet's not winking at the camera. So, like, the minute he does, game over. No one will care about him anymore. But his character is so bought into this stick that he has, which is why it's getting over. Makes sense.
Can we just say, before we move on from this match,
yes.
as a follically challenged man, there was a bald forever chant at Ricochet during this match, which I found very personally upsetting. There's no need for that.
You're scarred from that one.
Also, it happened on, was it the tag match on Dynamite this week, where all the faces slapped him on his bald head when he was outside the ring, which, yeah,
that was fun.
Again, Ricochet, you hate him, but he gets his comeuppance on a weekly basis, so it's all good.
It pays off. Yeah. By the way, toupees aren't exactly, I don't know if they've ever been in style, let's be honest, because, but these days you can do so much with them. I'm surprised that there aren't more men without hair that aren't, like, women wear wigs all the time. And, like, in my opinion, whether you're male or female, like, whatever makes you feel good about yourself, I say do it. If you're okay without it, I say be okay without it. But, like, men, it's a double standard, dude. Men tend to get crapped on for wearing something, but women won't. And I don't think it's fair.
I think I'm not getting into this whole thing, but I think there's a definite like negative stereotype around men who engage in cosmetics in any sort of fashion, whether it be cosmetic surgery, whether it be wearing makeup, whether it be wearing a wig. I mean, I don't know how it is in the States, but there's a big trend over here of people going to Turkey to get hair transplants. The phrase turkey teeth, if you get your teeth whitened over there.
Interesting.
Yeah. One of the girls I work with, her partner just turned 40, and she basically said to him, "What do you want for your 40th birthday?" And he changed his mind eventually, but for a long time he wanted to go to Turkey and get a hair transplant.
Interesting. Yeah, it just sounds so painful, honestly. Like, because they take from here. I know, because I wrote an article about this a few months ago. They take from this hair and surgically implant it, and then, like, if they're not good at what they're doing, you'll see scars behind the ears.
Yeah.
Of where they removed it. I'm like, oh God, it starts to sound like it's going to hurt. I don't do pain very well.
And Tom, as someone who's been bald for over a decade now, let me tell you, hair's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's a lot of decisions I don't have to make anymore. and it's really nice.
When I was in the business, I shaved my head bald on purpose with a straight razor and everything, just for the look. And I did it for 6 months or something, and until having a straight razor every 2 days got to be such a pain. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting too lazy. I'm just gonna let the hair grow in. So yeah.
So I have like a waterproof shaver that I use in the shower like every other day. It's got like 5 blades on, and you just sort of put it in your hand and you buzz it over, and it's
that's good. It works.
Baldness technology has improved, is what I'm saying.
I suddenly just flashed back to who was it that wore a wig? Was it Angle with the wig under the headgear? I think.
Yeah.
With the horrible wig. Yeah, it's good. All right. Well, we got one more. Jon Moxley retained the AEW World Championship against Swerve Strickland. I said last week that I think Swerve could be the next guy, but I didn't know if it'd be Sunday. So I was partially right anyway. This story came out, recently, and I think I've already mentioned it here on the show. First off, what are your feelings about all that? The buzz about, they want to keep the belt on John for a long time because of ratings and whatnot. And, like, can we justify that here? I mean, what's your take on all this?
I mean, can they justify it? I mean, if people are buying tickets and tuning into the show, then I guess so.
Sure.
I mean, it's upsetting. Again, it's so hard, isn't it, as a fan who consumes wrestling, and maybe obviously we're here sat on a wrestling podcast talking about it, so I'd like to think we're a little bit more obsessed with it than the average fan might be. But it's so easy to get an idea in your head, and I think what's so dangerous, I think what I think I may be allowed to happen a bit, and I think maybe we all did, is you can get yourself into a frame of mind where you think that there can only be one outcome.
Yeah.
And you want it so much, and then if it doesn't happen, then I mean, I'm not old enough. I don't maybe, but did everyone going to see Empire Strikes Back get angry when Darth Vader won? Because no one wanted that to happen.
I saw that in real time in the theater, and I can tell you, I was distraught as a kid. I was distraught. I was like, I can't believe they won. Oh, what's gonna happen now? Is Han dead? What is this? But it wasn't like, this is the worst movie ever. Like, never.
Because we didn't have social media back then, and you weren't screaming in unison with, all right, there might only be 5,000 people who think this absolutely sucked, but they're all going to scream really loud about it on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. Fernando has I love AEW, but Tony's stubbornness to pivot from stories that are not working. I can't agree with you, but I also cannot disagree with you. And we said this last week. I said it to somebody. There's always going to be two truths with the business. The truth as we see it and the truth as the talent sees it. And sometimes those truths are similar and sometimes it couldn't be more different. So as we're all sitting around talking about the Death Riders, evidently in that company, they don't feel that way. You know what I mean? That's not the truth that they're living. So evidently we're off base.
Yeah, I mean, the money's coming in. They've got the TV deal. The ratings are up. The pay-per-view buys are up. The attendances are up. You know, can you with a straight face turn around and say to Tony Khan, this storyline is killing your company. You have to change it right now, because it clearly isn't.
Yeah, it's tough. It's just, you know what? Have they set the bar in terms of, at some point, everything kind of did mean something, and then now we feel like this doesn't mean anything. So, like, I personally, I'm not critical of them because of, well, WWE wouldn't do this. I'm critical because I'm like, this is not something you would have done 3 years ago. Like, I don't know. Is that what's going on, that people remembering about AEW and like, why are you? If it's not working, cut bait and get out.
See, I think there's a real danger with AEW because it's such a recent company.
Sure.
To look back, man, I watched AEW year one and I loved it because it was something different.
Yeah.
And it came around a time when there were several things that happened in WWE that really turned me off the product, both from a on-screen perspective and from behind the scenes perspective. And I'm going to put my cards on the table. I'm vehemently anti-WWE. I really can't stand the company.
Same.
I can't stand the product. I can't stand the people who now own it. All of that. So I'm never going to watch them. If AEW does enough to put me off wrestling, I'll just simply stop watching wrestling. Or I'll go and watch my local indies, or I'll go and watch Mystery Wrestling, or I'll go and watch New Japan or whatever. But looking back, I was so happy when AEW started, because it was like, here's something I can really invest in. And I think this is why AEW gets treated differently, because we saw it, the first ever episode of Dynamite, the first ever pay-per-view, the first ever champion, the first ever title match. And we have these like rose-tinted memories of 2019 when this all kicked off. It probably wasn't as good as we all remember it.
It's fair.
It probably wasn't. Remember the Dark Order with the fake punches? Remember whatever the hell Cody was doing for the first 18 months?
Yeah.
It wasn't good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're gonna get like that about it, I get it.
People thought Hangman was getting over pushed in like a Roman Reigns way.
That's true. He started getting booed. I'm like, why are you booing this guy? It doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, Shane brings up, do you think it's hurting AEW that they are not showing the AEW title on TV? Our good friend Jay Luft, who blew us off for a girl. So when he said, I want Darby to take that belt out of a bag on top of Everest, I want that so much now. It's all I'm thinking about. And they probably won't do it. But, oh my God, what a moment.
So to follow up on that, I'm shocked on a level maybe that Warner will let them run a weekly TV show on their network and not show their main title.
Isn't that crazy?
Like, surely one of the execs must have said to Tony at least once, "Hey man, we gotta sell them replica belts, man. You gotta let us see that belt."
Yeah. Dude, John doesn't even bring it out when he cuts a promo. They don't even carry it out in the box or the thing anymore when he just cuts a promo.
No, and I've almost come full circle on this now. I'm almost so turned off by it that I'm intrigued again.
Oh wow!
Because now it's like it's gone from I'm really interested to see where this is going to okay, this is getting a bit stale and I'm a bit bored. To now I just want to see I want to see what sort of brass tacks they've got to do this booking.
Yeah, do they have it in them to? Yeah.
Are they going to go all in? Are they, pun intended, are they going to commit to this? Are they going to make me hate this product for shoot and then turn it around?
Yeah. How far are they willing to go? You know, years ago when I wrote for Bleacher, I covered Monday Night Raw every week, and it was during the John and Randy era, and it was always, you know, John can't work, John blah blah, 5 moves blah blah. And look, I'm gonna be straight with you. I was one of those writers. I was like, God, I'm tired of this, blah blah blah. And then people online started saying things like, John should be fired. They should fire him. Let's fire you. And at some point, I was like, okay, you people have lost your minds. He is their top guy. What do you mean? What? Like, and so then I've forced myself to pull back and be honest and take a real look at what I was watching and say, okay, John's not going anywhere. He's their guy. So let's try to make sense of this. So then I started rationalizing for myself as like, because what you said about the Death Riders rang a bell here for me. If it's not going away, let me try to rationalize it. What is working about it? What could possibly happen that would make it better? And if it's not going anywhere, let me see if I can understand what it is they're trying to accomplish. So with John, it was always, okay, it's not going anywhere. And then I would see clips of AEW and go, he can wrestle. Did you guys see that? And then it became that factored into my thinking. And I'm like, wait a minute. Cena doesn't wrestle because they don't want him to. They want him to punchy kiki and do this and do the five moves. But he can work. He can wrestle. So then when I get an understanding of whatever the it is, whether it's Cena or Moxley or whoever, I can live with it a lot easier. Maybe that's what I got to do with John Moxley here. Do you know what I mean? Maybe.
And yeah, always hold something back. Like, so a couple of years ago, we had Scott Garland, Scotty Too Hotty, who now works at AEW. He's a producer. He came over to the Liverpool and he hosted a seminar in my brewery. We set a ring up and he come down. He took some trainee wrestlers through. Like, he didn't even put his boots on. He just stood in the ring and talked to them.
Nice.
And he said, just do as much as you can with as little as you can get away with. And he wrestled a match either the night before or the night after at a local indie show. He wrestled a guy called Gene Money, who's a really charismatic guy. His whole shtick is that he wears like a dog collar, and his finisher move's called Ainsley Lariat, which is the name of a celebrity chef in the UK. He's a very comedy based wrestler.
Yeah. And
they had a 20-minute match, of which the first 8 minutes was just them going back and forth about putting Scotty's hat on. And the crowd were ballistic for it. It was the loudest the show got all night.
Yeah. Yeah. We worked with George South quite a bit. If you know George, you know about him. We worked with George South quite a bit, and he would tell our locker room, he's like, especially the younger guys, he's like, if he'd point to the promoter, he's like, if that man gives you 15 minutes, spend the first 7 just working the crowd. He said, you shouldn't kill yourself. He's like, I don't want to sweat that much. I don't want to kill. I want my back to hurt when it's over. Let's entertain people. So we did. I mean, I saw fans trying to get in the ring to fight him because he had them so worked up, and he loved it. And that we're all sitting there going, God, are they ever going to wrestle? It was his thing. It's what he did. And it worked. And people couldn't stop talking about him. and he got over. So I get that.
And is this not the antithesis of what we talked about earlier with the sort of never-ending escalation of spectacle?
It's true.
And is this a sort of, and this is all, I think since its inception, this has always been not a weakness of AEW, but certainly a quirk of it, is that it's always been a broad church of wrestling. It's always been a place where you can do any style. And are we getting to a point now where we've got guys on the roster like Kenny, like Ospreay, who are all about the work rate, all about doing the most they can all the time, and then you've got guys. I think Moxley really is trying to put the brakes on sometimes and be like, no, I want it to breathe. I want people to feel things.
Yeah.
I want to do more with less.
You're trying to rationalize it in real time, and I'm with you.
I'm trying my best here, man. I really am.
No, I appreciate the effort, because look, if we're going to continue watching, and by I mean everybody, instead of just getting frustrated about it, find a way to rationalize it. I think that makes a lot of sense. I will say that in this match, I love Swerve, and I thought he and John did fine, but Swerve couldn't get color. And Buddy, I'll bet he was not happy at the end of this match. When it doesn't work, it's the most frustrating thing for them. And John kept going, trying to bust him open the hard way by biting him. And at some point, I'm like, John, stop. It's not working. I'm like, someone go to the back, get this man a blade. What is going on out here? Man alive. Is John's stuff too much, by the way, the blood and guts? Or do you think it's... No,
bring it up. No. I mean, because again, it's this sort of false narrative. It's this sort of bad faith argument that people who don't watch the product or who don't watch AEW will say, "Oh, Moxie just bleeds all the time. All he's got is blood."
Yeah,
and he hasn't bled an awful lot in the last 6 to 8 months. Like since he's been champion, I think there was maybe a time when he was really doing a lot of the GCW shows, and he was really in his deathmatch era, and he was really enjoying it, because I think he goes through phases of really wanting to get out there and just bleed. Moxie's if you ever read his book, Moxie's a weird guy. He's a fantastic mind, but he's an odd person.
Yeah, it's a good book.
There's a whole episode. There's a whole chapter about how he got annoyed at a sandwich.
Yes, that's a good thing. No, yeah, I get it. The bread has to be, it can't be this kind of bread. The ratio's off. Yeah, that's great.
So I think Moxie gets into phases. I think Moxie's he's a great wrestler mind. He's also a very absorbent person. I think he takes influences very easily. And you can see that throughout his sort of whole career and the sort of eras he's been through. And he will go through phases where he will maybe bleed a little too much, but when he knows he needs to present himself as a company champion, as a strong figurehead in the company. I mean, you can say what you will about the interferences. We'll talk about that in a second. But he holds back on the blood, and he makes it mean more. He took the most hellacious spot a few weeks ago, which genuinely upset me to watch. I saw the man's skin tear off his body.
Yeah.
There's about 3 people in the world of professional wrestling who'll take that, and only one of them works for a major company, and it's John Moxley.
I'm not taking that. That's crazy. I asked Phil one night after that happened. I said, "How many tetanus shots you think Mox gets in a month or in a week?" My God, crazy. He just calls a doctor. Like, John, oh, is it tetanus? All right, yeah, cool. You can come in. They're already ready. They know why he's calling. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, look, let's talk about the interference. The Young Bucks are back, kids. They both look like, I don't know what they look like. I don't know. In my opinion, them as heels is tired, and I don't know why we're still doing it. I'm not saying they should have come back as heroes or anything, but I didn't really get this, and it felt kind of forced. What's your take on this?
You talk about the Young Bucks.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So again, slight disclaimer. I'll feed this back in. I didn't actually watch this main event. I've seen all the big moments. I went to bed because it was 4:30 in the morning, and I had to be up at 9. I had to go to work, and I wanted some sleep. And you know what? Nothing about what I heard about the match has compelled me to go back and watch it. And you know what? That's fine. You don't have to. Wrestling's not. You're never going to complete professional wrestling. You're never going to watch all of it. If something doesn't make you happy and it's not what you want to watch, just just don't watch it. You don't have to. You don't have to. There's no. It's not absolute. You don't have to either be the biggest fan of a company of all time or never watch it again. There's layers, and there's you can just go, oh, this Moxley angle's not doing it for me, so I'll watch the Kenny match and I'll just turn the TV off. That's fine.
Right, yeah.
You can do that. You have that power.
Sure.
If something's not bringing you joy, don't engage with it. You don't have to. You don't have to hate watch things. This is 2025. Everything's available online forever. So pick and choose. The world's a buffet. You don't go to a buffet and force down a bowl of salad that you hate just because it's there.
Eat the salad because it's good for you, not because you have to. Yeah.
But anyway, so I did see all the bits and bobs. I will say I do understand people's frustrations with it. I like it from a slightly different. So the books came out on Dynamite and said they did it for Hangman, so that fascinates me on a level because there's a real chance now because Hangman's on the verge of emerging from this like hellacious darkness he's been in for like the past 18 months. There's like a real chance of him and Swerve coming to some sort of understanding. Like there was that, we talked about it last week, there was that moment when Swerve admitted he was at fault for breaking into Hangman's house.
Yes.
And that sort of put Hangman down a path where he might eventually possibly come out of the darkness and accept that, not be an awful person. Now the books coming back, they still think he's that person he was when they last saw him, like a year ago or whenever it was. And I think it's fascinating that they could inadvertently derail his sort of metamorphosis back into a decent human being. For utterly and there'll be some. It's the book, so there'll be some utterly selfish reasons of whatnot. And I think there's still a bit to explain on that, and I think maybe they do need to show us. I think you made a really good point last week, Tom, when you said the overbooking of the interference in the Moxley matches is a huge issue, and I think that absolutely was solidified at Dynasty. If this was the first time there'd been interference in the John Moxley title match, it would have felt absolutely massive. If Moxley had just won all his matches without the Death Riders getting involved, without Marina getting involved, and then all of a sudden he can't beat Swerve, so the Bucks come out and the Bucks win it for him, that's huge. As it is, the next guys in a lineup of goons that run in and interfere in John Moxley matches.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't understand. I mean, I guess to lay the groundwork for Hangman. I mean, are we going to get Hangman and Swerve versus the Young Bucks?
I mean, maybe. Is that... Yeah, possibly. But then, I don't know, because I feel like there's so much money and there's so much interest in Hangman versus Swerve for the title at some point. Like, because they've done horrible things to each other. Horrible things. And we want to see that. Like, the hatred, like those guys. I always say Hangman can do more with his face to sell a storyline and a mood than most other wrestlers can do with their entire bodies and their voices. Like if you go back and you watch the end of the cage match, it's so beautiful. Hangman walks down the ramp and then he goes back, he turns around to like maybe go and check. Like you can see on his face, he like wants to check Swerve to make sure he's okay because he's just really hurt him. And it's beautiful. As he turns around, a woman in the audience screams at the top of her lungs because she thinks Hangman's going back to hurt him more.
Yeah.
And Hangman looks disgusted with himself in like a split second. He just makes the decision, and he looks like he's disgusted with what he's done. And then he stands there for a second, and then he leaves down the heel tunnel. And if that was ad-libbed, it's the greatest like reading of a room in professional wrestling history.
Yeah, because he even looked at the tunnels for a second. I could be getting that confused with another spot where he does.
He looks and he's like he basically realizes I'm a bad person now. This is who I've become.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying for a year now, and I said it last week. We have seen the needle move in the other direction with Swerve because I think they want him to no longer be, I'll say edgy, but I don't mean that's going to cripple his character. I just don't think they want him to have that viciousness because they want him to be the top face. And look, dude, if you're going to have a guy as great as Swerve is at world title level, don't know that he can or should be vicious when your champion is John Moxley. Like, There should be, when you look at Swerve, say, all right, he can be dangerous, but he's the good guy. Like, I think that's important. You know what I mean? So I think him admitting that he knew he took it too far, and Nana trying to tell Paige on Wednesday night, hey, I just wanted to say, I've never told you, but I regret. And then Paige cut him off. We need Nana and Swerve to be the good guys. I think it's important right now.
I think it's especially important because Swerve is possibly the most media savvy star that AEW has. He can do anything. He can go on local news. He can go on radio. He can go on like an underground podcast. He can go into the rap world.
Yep.
You know, he can exist in any way. He can exist in any spectrum you want him to. You know, if you want him to throw out the first pitch, you want him to go on CNN. You want him to go on, you know, you want him to do a hangout with West Side Gun. He can do any of that, and you need to present him, like you say, he needs to be not squeaky clean, but he needs to have like a resolution of his character where he admits and like he sort of fixes his faults almost. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Fernando says Stone Cold was still vicious. I don't know what you mean though. We're not talking about Swerve as world champion. We're talking about Swerve as the good guy. I mean, Swerve as world champion, he gets that belt back, all bets are off. Because I think anything could happen at that point. But I think as long as Mox has that world title, in my opinion, Mox needs to be the guy. Like I said this 2 weeks ago on the show here, is that it, you know, in my opinion, where they may have faltered a bit with this angle, to me, is when one of the talent puts John Moxley's name in his mouth, that guy gets laid out. It shouldn't even be talked. It shouldn't even be a question. MJF should have got laid out. Everybody that says the champ's name, lay him out. Because that's who Mox is with his gang. But every time that doesn't happen, which I think this goes, not to get off on a rant, I think when people get frustrated with the Death Riders thing, that plays into it. It's like, wait a minute, you're a killer. Your guys are killers. You're evil. No holds barred. Did you know this guy over here is talking smack about you? You just going to let that go? The answer is yes. Because they don't want to do that. Because it's not the booking. You know what I mean?
Don't forget this angle started with Moxley choking Bryan Danielson out and shoot like kayfabe ending his career.
Yes. Absolutely.
This started with Moxley taking Bryan Danielson away from us forever.
Yeah.
And now, like you say, now MJF can just go out there and talk about how he's waiting to get his title back.
Yeah. Yeah, the Triple B, which by the way, it's not, but it's okay. It's fun. Kids, before we get out of here, because it's pretty late here for Big Tasty, let's open the floor. If anybody's got any comments, questions, thoughts, words of wisdom they want to throw out. All ears. Chad Too Bad says of you, Big Tasty, what you think of Swerve bringing up Booker T at the end of the show. I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
Oh man, I mean, I'm the whitest man in the world, so I ain't gonna try and speak to what issues Swerve might have with Booker T. I mean, he's able to say whatever he wants. If he has an issue with Booker T, then he's allowed to express that issue. If Booker T has an issue with Swerve, he's allowed to express an issue with Swerve. I always get a little cringy when people put other people's names in their mouths, and but hey, Swerve knows. I think Swerve, like you said, I think Swerve's quite media savvy. I think he sort of knows where the line is. He knows how to get right up to that line.
Yeah, I the stuff that, look, here's what I'll say. Booker has defended that company for years against all kinds of attacks. A lot of them justified. He's defended the booking between him and Triple H, where Triple H he was a racist to him on live TV, and he said it was fine. I'm like, it ain't fine. You got beat. If you had won, maybe it's okay then. It's still not okay. But like, Booker ain't changing, man. He's in the bag for that company. Him and Bubba both, my God, the amount of times those guys defend WWE. I'm like, it's okay to disagree with what the company does sometimes. My God, it doesn't mean you hate them.
They're still going to pay you. It's fine.
They're still going to pay you, right? Is that the problem? Chad also said, do you see where Hook puked twice during Wednesday's match? I didn't see that.
So apparently it was after, because he got the neutralizer on the chair, didn't he? At the end of the match. Was it there? Maybe, I don't know. People say, was he concussed? Was that like a concussion symptom? Or he got dropped on his stomach on a chair. Maybe was it? I think he's been like pulled off the show this week or something. Maybe hopefully he's not hurt too bad.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't see that. I kind of felt like he was just selling at the end because when they went to help him up, he got right up. You know what I mean? He didn't hesitate. When they helped him stand, he was straight up to his feet, which kind of told me, okay, he's selling. He's probably okay, but maybe he wasn't. Maria asked about Sting inducting Lex in the Hall of Fame. Has that changed? Is he not? Because to me, I don't know who else would do it. I think it only makes sense.
I think it'll happen. I'd love it to happen with Sting wearing a big old AEW shirt as he did it.
Ooh. Wouldn't that be great?
But I think if nothing else, I think Tony has enough respect for Sting that if Sting asked him, he would allow it to happen.
Dude, yeah. Well, I think one phone call is enough, which I say that, but I'm sure attorneys have to be involved and you got to sign something and, but still, let the guy put his friend in. My goodness. Yeah, Chad's pointed out Hook's out for sure. Yeah.
Oh, there you
Tony said Sting is not asked.
Oh, okay. I think if Sting asks, it's an easy yes. But if it's a corporate email, maybe that's a little easier to just keep in the inbox and not reply.
I guess Flair could do it. I guess maybe JJ Dillon could do it. I guess maybe I don't know. It seems like Sting's the right person to do it. Interesting. Well, kids, I think that's just going to about do it for us here today. And before we get out of here there, Big Tasty, thanks again for coming on the show. And if you'd like to tell the kids where you are on the internets before we get out of here today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't tend to spend a lot of time on social media these days because, well, it's just a hot garbage fire. But you can always find the podcast. That's much more important. Listen to our podcast, the Untitled Wrestling Podcast. We're available wherever you find your podcasts. You'll catch us on Tom's main event every now and then. You'll catch maybe me and Jay on an upcoming project. Who knows? So you can always find us here or in Tom's orbit, I think is the way to describe it. If you want to, just hang out, talk some wrestling, watch me say bad things about WWE, check out our Discord. You can find it online, Untitled Wrestling Podcast Discord. Me and Jay just post a load of memes in there. We talk about video games a lot. I talk about soccer for you guys. Speaking of which, Mohamed Salah, best player in the world, signed a new contract for Liverpool today. Love that. Big day for me. Been enjoying that. Big day in the city. Yeah.
So Liverpool is your team, eh?
Oh man, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, man. Well, look, thanks again for coming on, dude.
Oh, Tom, thank you for having me. Anytime. I mean, I said anytime, and then you dragged me on 2 weeks in a row. So maybe I'll stop saying that.
I swear, I think Jay did like 5 Fridays in a row at one point last year. He just kept. He's like, I don't have anything to do, and I'm like, come on the show. It's fine. Yeah, it's crazy. All right, man. Hang loose. Thanks again, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Cheers.
All right, kids. That was Big Tasty from the Untitled Wrestling Podcast. Kids, thanks much for hanging out with us here today. We'll be back here next week, barring any unforeseen circumstance. And we'll be back live in living color here on Tom Clark's Main Event. Thanks to everybody who watched in real time and who subscribes and downloads after the fact. Be sure to visit boinkstudios.com, BOINK, boinkstudios.com. And when you do so, you will find links to this here little podcast, Tom Clark's Main Event. Also, Tom Clark's 6M podcast. That's movies, music, Marvel, magazines, miniseries, and more. And also Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Every episode that has already come out of the Ted Lasso series is reviewed. All 3 seasons in video and audio formats both. So go to boinkstudios.com. You can take the links to the respective social media and podcast platforms, and also to the YouTube at Boink Studios. Go follow us there. Check out all the shows. And as Tasty teased, there is a brand new show on the way. More to come on that very soon. We'll be ready to reveal artwork. We're going to drop a teaser of the show and kind of whet your guys' appetites for it. And hopefully you will enjoy it. And I can't wait to get started because I'm sure it's going to be a blast to do. So, kids, that's all we've got for you. Thanks so much again for hanging out as always. We appreciate you very much. Everybody have a great weekend, okay? And we will see you next week. Thanks again, folks, for following. Stay tuned. We'll see you later.